Spellbook of the Lost and Found, Chapter 11, Olive, Wednesday, May 10th. Lost, phone signal. Rose doesn't come to school on Wednesday. She messages vaguely and telegrams speak about exam stress, but everyone's worried about exams, and not coming to school certainly isn't going to help. I know that's not what's wrong. I just don't know what it is. After school, I tell Emily to go home without me so that I can head over to Rose's. Mom's going to kill you, Emily says, as I'm about to pedal away. You're still supposed to be grounded, you know. If you knew your best friend was so stressed you couldn't come to school, and she couldn't come to school, you'd go to her too, even if you were grounded. Emily gives me a measured look. Finally, she rolls her eyes and says, fine, I'll tell Mom you're doing an extra math class this evening. Just remember to stick to the story tonight or I'll get in trouble too. You're a star. I gave my sister a relieved grin. At Rose's, nobody answers the door. She doesn't answer her phone either. I stick a note in her letterbox that says, hope you're okay. Stop, call me, stop, Olive. Since I've already got an alibi, I decided to look for my bracelet on the way home, starting with the field where the bonfire was built. I must have lost my bracelet there. It hasn't shown up anywhere else. But there's nothing in the pile of soot and charred wood or the crumbling hay bales or the grass where I woke up, where the scruffy blonde boy was sleeping. The clouds get darker overhead and it starts to drizzle. My search takes me on a slow loop all around the field. From the small copse trees where I saw the beautiful curly-haired boy to the fence at the opposite edge of the field, along which I searched for Rose that morning. At the furthest corner, I nearly walk into a rose bush I'm certain was not there before. I stop and stare at it. No roses were growing in the field on Saturday night. I tug at a branch, but the brush is rooted in place. Not for the first time this week, I wonder if I might be losing my mind just a little bit. Mostly, though, my mind is occupied with Rose and her sudden silence. Maybe that's why I'm misremembering rose bushes. I'm beginning to wonder if I've done something wrong. Maybe I said something to Rose at the party, the memory of it lost like the rest of that night. Maybe I did something stupid and she's only pretending she can't remember because she doesn't want to tell me. I almost lost her friendship once over some ill-thought-out kisses, and we vowed never to let that happen again. But it turns out there are plenty of other ways you can lose a friend. When the rain intensifies, I grab my bike and begin to ride home. I've just kicked off when my tires bump over something sharp on the road and I lose control, swerving into the fence between the field and the road. I jump off the saddle and swear. My back tire is punctured. To add insult to injury, the sky above me opens and rain becomes a downpour. I button up the denim jacket I sort of stole after the party and shiver. The rain pours down in fat, cold drops. I take out my phone. It says, check connection, network signal lost. Something catches my eye from across the road, and while I wait for my phone signal to reappear, I cross over to look closer. It's a wishing tree. It's more a shrub than a tree, actually, but there are rags and ribbons and rosaries wound around the branches, and coins and mass cards wedged in among the leaves. There are other things, too, a tiny bronze Buddha statue, a plastic beaded bracelet, a child's shoe, a faded photograph. The rain tinkles on the trinkets and makes an eerie music on the empty road. I don't know why anyone would think tying an offering to a branch of a tree could ever make a wish come true. I check my phone again, still no signal. I just need shelter until the rain eases off. Oak Road is close by. There would be plenty of shelter behind the boiler houses or in the storm drain tunnel at the edge of the development. I check my phone one last time and hurry in the opposite direction. 5 minutes later, I'm leaning my bike against a flat-topped wall that rings Oak Road when I see a boy. He's standing in the weed-tangled driveway of the house right in front of me, staring at me like a deer in the headlights. Not just any boy. Braid, sweater, skinny jeans, black framed glasses, curly brown hair under a flat cap. It's the boy I saw the morning after the party. The wind picks up, snatches leaves and stones, and sends them skittering along the ground between us. The rain lashes. Somewhere in the not-so-distant distance, thunder growls. The boy looks up the darkened sky. I raise my head to the rain and look up too, and there's a fork of lightning, a trident, thin and brilliant above us. Automatically, I start counting. Me and this boy, alone in the middle of a ghost town, in the oncoming storm. Silent countdown in my head. When the thunder sounds again, it's closer this time. I finally say something. Is it supposed to be a mile for every second between the thunder and the lightning, I ask, although that hardly sounds scientific. The boy laughs, but his reply is drowned out by yet more thunder. At this point, the world is more water than air. I cover my left ear with a cupped hand so my hearing aid won't get wet. What are you looking for, he asked. My bike got a flat tire, and then I decided to run into Niagara Falls. I'm not having the best day ever. The boy gives me an appraising look. I'm going to shelter in the storm drain tunnel I go on to wait out the rain. What are you doing here? I live here, the boy says. You what? Unorthodox, I know. I blink. I know which house he lives in. It was his voice I must have heard on Monday. His light I saw in the cracks between the wooden boards. Do you want to come in for a bit? He gestures behind him. Wait out the rain? I promise I'm not an axe murderer or anything. That's exactly the kind of thing an axe murderer would say. My sister lives here too, he says, and our friend, who is also a girl. You don't have to come in. I mean, you can shelter in the tunnel like you said if you prefer. I won't take it personally. I purse my lips at a concrete tunnel. The wind whips my hair around my face. Okay, I tell him. I'll take my chances with you, but no funny business. He gives a surprised laugh, and I blush to the soles of my feet. I mean no axe murdering, I clarify quickly, or murdering of any sort. He beckons for me to follow him. You're perfectly safe with me, he says, and for some reason my mom's face flashes into my mind. Her blank eyes at the breakfast table when I come home from the party. He's trouble. He's lost a lot, and so will you. Stay away from him, or you'll lose everything. I shake my head to dispel the thought, and I follow the boy across the mud and sodden weeds of the development. I can't remember the last time I did something like this without Rose. I can't remember the last time I met someone new of my own. I'm Olive, by the way, I tell the boy. He grins and says, Olive, like a tree? That's right, I say, even though most people would think of the fruit first. I'm Rowan, he says then. I grin right back at him. Like a tree, exactly. I follow Rowan to the empty house that has a rusty number 5 on it. He moves the planks of wood to one side and shoulders open the door. Inside the house, the radio is on, or maybe a television, but I can't see the evidence of either in the dim light. The floor is dirty, mud-tracked, and our footsteps echo. Above us, it sounds like someone might be singing. I twist my head to try and see up the stairs. The banister is thick and gleaming, and the steps bare wood. Everything empty and echoing and old, new. I follow Rowan into the kitchen, which is slightly brighter than the hall because the windows are unboarded, and the sliding French-style doors let in whatever light is left in the storm, which admittedly isn't much. Rowan goes around the kitchen lighting candles and lanterns on every surface. I suppose there wouldn't be electricity in a development full of empty houses. The music I'm hearing is coming from a little wind-up radio, the kind you take on camping trips when you're a kid. And it must be a bit like camping living there. The fitted marble counters along 3 of the room's walls are covered with tins and packets of food, and a few plates and bowls and mismatched mugs, all of them chipped, some clearly only held together by glue and good luck. A tiny fridge, of the kind you see in the film's college dorms, stands in the empty space designed to fit a proper fridge. It's attached by a cable to a small generator. A gas camping stove sits on one of the counters. On it is a huge, heavy cast-iron kettle that stands out starkly from its surroundings. The sink beside the back door is filled with dirty dishes. In the middle of the room, there's a big old camping table surrounded by chairs in various states of disrepair. An open box of chocolate sits in the middle of the table with empty wrappers scattered all around it. Nothing is left inside the box but the orange ones and the red ones. Rowan leans against the kitchen door, watching me stare at his unconventional home. He has a silver Zippo ladder in his right hand and is flicking it open and shut, in a movement so practiced. He must do it several hundred times a day. He's wearing an expression that looks something like recognition. I know you from somewhere, don't I? He says. Oh, I say, and blush for some reason. Yeah, no, not really. I saw you at the party on Saturday, or Sunday morning, rather, just briefly. I was looking for my friend, and you were over at the edge of the field. I obviously don't mention how much I've been thinking about the brief encounter. No, he says softly, that's not it. You sure we haven't met before? I laugh and look around at the candle and lantern-lit kitchen. No way, I tell him. I definitely remember you. Then I shut my mouth and blush again because of all the ridiculousness things to do. Of course I'd tell a boy I've just met he's memorable. Why not just throw myself right at him while I'm at it? No, I could swear, Rowan starts to say, but it's interrupted by the front door opening with a bang. Because he didn't close the kitchen door behind us when we came in, I can see straight down the hall to the tall, curly-haired girl who storms inside, completely drenched by the rain. She slams the door behind her and dumps her heavy-looking shopping bags unceremoniously on the stairs. Then she kicks off her shoes, pulls off her dripping sweater and her sopping socks, followed by the damp black shirt and her trousers that are wet and muddy to the knees, leaving the lot in a heap on the floor in front of the door. She shakes her hair out of her face, picks up the shopping bags, and tramps down into the kitchen in her underwear. I have to pinch myself so I'll stop staring. Rowan nearly chokes. Jesus, Hazel, put some clothes on. That's not a sight I need to see at any hour of the day. Hazel casually drops her shopping bags on the kitchen table and gives Rowan the finger before tying her wet hair out of her face. It's raining, she says. Yeah, and most people generally opt to put more clothes on when that's the case. Hazel turns and sees me. Who's this, she asks. I found her, says Rowan, right by the gate. I only wanted to get out of the rain, I tell them. I'm standing in my own little puddle, the ends of my hair drifting to my shoulders, pat, pat, pat. I keep my eyes on the puddle to avoid staring at the tattoo Hazel has just under the cup of her bra. Hazel looks from me to Rowan and back again. You're wearing my jacket, she says. I look down at the rain-drenched denim. Is this yours? I found it the morning after the town party. I shrug it off and hand it to her. I ate all your gum, sorry. Hazel laughs. That's okay. Rowan is still staring at me like he's trying to figure me out. I'm sure the party isn't where I know you from, though, he says. He's taken off his cap and is pulling his sweater up over his head, attempting to dry his hair on the wet wool. His t-shirt slips up slightly, and I catch a glimpse of something that looks like a tattoo above his hip before he lowers his arms and the t-shirt covers it again. Tattooed teenagers living in a ghost town. I'm not sure I could live with myself if I didn't find out more about these two. I can't wait to tell Rose. It occurs to me that if I'd been with Rose this afternoon in the first place, I never would have ended up in this situation. Do you want to borrow some dry clothes? Offers Hazel. Okay, I say. And she takes me by the elbow and leads me into the hall and up the stairs. The house smells like candle wax and cigarette smoke. So, what are you guys doing living here? The light is slightly brighter on the landing, even though it seems to be getting progressively grayer outside. Although the two large windows at each end of the hall are boarded up like those downstairs, there's a skylight at the top of the stairs above us. Hazel doesn't answer my question. Instead, she calls into one of the bedrooms. Ivy, you were right. We do have a guest. This is Olive, I say to the girl who steps out into the landing. She's striking, and not just because of her hair, which is short and spiky and bright blue. She's small and very slim, beautiful in a fairy princess kind of way, and her eyes are the kind you notice, which is unusual because nobody notices people's eyes outside of fiction. They're a very light blue, some kind of crystal. She's wearing a motley collection of woolen layers that make her look like a punky 19th century farm girl. She is strange and lovely. To my surprise, she comes over and hugs me, tight and quick, as if we knew each other. She says, Hi, Olive, as if she isn't the least surprised to see a stranger in this weird empty house. Then she says to Hazel, Why aren't you wearing any clothes? I'm wearing underwear. Hazel looks at them, hooks her thumb under her left bra strap. Ivy doesn't even bat an eyelid. That's true. Hazel authoritatively leads me into another one of the bedrooms. Like the rest of the house, is blank and dark and almost empty. A sagging mattress pushed up against the far wall serves as a bed. Hazel clicks on a lantern and roots through one of the shopping bags piled into the boarded-up windows. She pulls a bunch of clothes and toiletries and other random things out on the floor. Everything's such a damn-it mess here. Take these, they're mostly clean. She hands me a white satin dress that looks more like a slip than actual clothes, and a large Aryan sweater. Then she wriggles into a very tight pair of cut-off denim shorts and an oversized t-shirt. She is all curves, a pale, freckled skin, and long, strong legs. She has a tattoo of a skeleton key on one arm, and on the other there's a keyhole that looks like it's been shaded in with galaxies. No negative space, only tiny white dots like clusters of stars. The other tattoo, the one I've been avoiding staring at all this time, the one across her ribs, right under her breast, is new, covered in a clear plastic bandage. It's a line of words, but while I'm curious to know what it says, I'm too embarrassed to look more closely. I realize I've been staring when Hazel turns to look back at me. I peel my damp sweater and school shirt over my head and put on Hazel's clothes instead. I try hard not to appear self-conscious, fighting the urge to turn my back or cross my arms around my middle. The clothes fit, even though I'm about half a foot shorter than she is. Rose would love this girl, I find myself thinking. Rose never mastered the art of shimmering her bra off under her top and instead strips flamboyantly, just daring you to look. Hazel seems to be in a similar disposition. When I look back up at Hazel, she is fully clothed and considers me appreciatively. Cute, she says. Thanks, I pluck at the hem of the dress, for the clothes. My legs are muddy and my hair is still wet, but I'm warming up considerably, and for the compliment. Hazel has a wicked smile. I got more where'd that come from. I don't know if she means the clothes or the compliment. Hazel leads me back into the hall where Ivy is waiting. She turns and says as if she read my mind, both.